Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. One of the most powerful ways to play Rogue Trader is as a Psyker. Right from the bat, when you pick the origin, you're going to get access to a ton of different powers that you can continue to develop as you level up. But unfortunately, there are no archetypes that are specifically meant for a player who is a Psyker. Instead, it's typical melee and ranged options that could really be based around any other type of character. That's going to change in Dark Heresy, as they are adding 2 new archetypes that are specifically designed to be for characters who pick the Psyker origin. Very, very exciting. I'm going to play a clip where Starrok from Owlcat gives his thoughts in an interview I did on the channel a couple of days ago, and then I'll circle back with my thoughts. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot more Dark Heresy content on the channel, so if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any future videos.
The Psyker is becoming not only an origin with like lots of content packed into it, it's gonna actually expand towards 2 archetypes, like tier 1 and tier 2. So you begin as an origin, as a sanctioned Psyker. And then if you pick that, you can either pick the normal archetypes, the other ones, or you can pick the new archetype called Mystic, the first tier. It's only available to those who have this origin. And then as you go through it, you can go over to Savant, which is going to be the 2nd tier archetype. And they're all revolving around using your psychic powers. So no longer you have your archetype that does barely anything to the Psyker. So if you want to do psychic stuff, you can do that.
All right, so those are the thoughts from Starrok. First and foremost, I think this is really, really exciting. Again, we didn't have these type of options in Rogue Trader, so I think it's going to just further expand the build variety available when you choose the Psyker option. And although I didn't add a clip here for it, something Starrok mentioned multiple times throughout the interview is that Owlcat really wants to focus on reactivity in Dark Heresy. It's going to be a shorter game than Rogue Trader, but they want to make it a much deeper experience where you're going to experience a lot of reactivity based on the choices that you make. Well, I personally believe that playing as a Psyker should present a lot of reactivity throughout your adventure. This is not something that's common. It should definitely be notable if you demonstrate Psyker abilities in front of other people. And so I'm really interested to see how that particular playthrough is going to be different from some of the other options available. Now, he mentioned the names for the tier 1 and tier 2 archetype are Mystic and Savant respectively. As far as I can tell, there are no archetypes in Dark Heresy that relate to those names, but on an interesting note, you can find them in the Imperium Maladictum. So they're not archetypes, but what the game does have is roles. Basically, you are serving a specific patron, and then under that patron, each character will have their own role. And so some of the options are Numbras, Warriors, Zealots, Interlocutors, but 2 other options are Mystics and Savants. And I'm very, very curious as to whether or not Owlcat is basically pulling a system from Maladictum, especially since it was mentioned in the interview, they're going to be moving towards a system of specializations where you choose something and then it automatically unlocks a bunch of different talents and options that you can go ahead and use as you please. And that sounds very similar to how Maladictum works. Now, Owlcat said they're moving this way in the hopes of making leveling up a much easier process than what you experience in Rogue Trader, where there are these long list of tons of different talents, and it's very easy to choose the wrong thing, and a lot of players easily got confused. Owlcat is hoping to avoid that with Dark Heresy. We'll see whether or not that's the case. So circling back to Maladictum, let's look at the descriptions for the 2 roles. First, for Mystics, they have an understanding understanding of the mysteries of reality and possibly a connection to the unreality of the warp. Sounds extremely interesting. I really wish I could look at more of the mechanics of this particular role, but I don't have that core rule book, so I can't look closer. But maybe some of you who have played through this before could provide more information regarding what Mystics provides. And then when it comes to Savants, they are scholars, experts, or artisans. How they come about their knowledge and expertise varies, from rigorous study to cerebral imprinting to communing with non-human entities. So it looks like in Maladictum, Savants at least are not specifically based around being a Psyker. So it'll be interesting to find out if Owlcat is going to change this so that it does relate more to Psyker, or if it's going to be great for a multitude of characters. So maybe Psychers aren't the only ones who would benefit from being Savants, because it sounds like this would be perfect for a character who's playing as a member of the Adeptus Mechanicus. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe that an archetype of an origin of that type was going to be provided in the game. And so if so, seems like Savant would be perfect. Regardless of how it all shakes out or what Owlcat is planning to do, I'm really excited. I think this looks super cool. I think it's going to be even more exciting to play as a Psyker. And so I can't wait to provide you all with more details. Let me know down in the comments if there's any additional content regarding Dark Heresy that you're looking for. If you enjoyed this video, I would definitely appreciate you hitting that like button. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.